Let's say good morning to Dr. Wendy Kristen, health coach and wellness practitioner at Integrated Health Solution. Good morning, Wendy. Hope you're well.
Good morning, Brad. Yes, I am. Thanks. Hope you are too.
Yes, doing very well. And we've been moving through this, what turned out to be quite a big series, talking about sustainable foundations of health to take into this new year. We've prioritized real food. We've spoken about managing blood sugar levels, gentle and consistent movement, prioritizing sleep, water intake, and stress. Really so important, all of these things, Wendy. I think this has been a really, really important way to launch into this brand new year. And today, touching on, well, the goals that we're setting for ourselves. Sometimes we can be a bit unrealistic, right? We expect too much from ourselves all too quickly, and what we really want is something sustainable.
Yeah. So I think that's key there. If our goals are not realistic, it's going to be very difficult for us to be for them to be sustainable. Sometimes we set a goal that is beyond reach, and then that's just discouraging because you can't get to where you need to get
Mm.
because it was unrealistic in the first place.
So, how do we set realistic goals? I mean, what is realistic? And I know we need to say like, okay, what are we going to talk about exactly? Weight loss here, or fitness, or general. So, how do we achieve it? Because we look at people and we say, oh, I want to look like him, or I want to look like her, or we end up doing that instead of just saying, how can I be a better version of me? How do we even start goal setting when it comes to our health?
Well, I think that's where we need to start. We need to sit down and we need to think, okay, so what would we like to achieve? And how are we going to get there? So
Mm.
if, for example, weight loss, we can have several goals. So maybe to achieve weight loss, we're going to need to start increasing our exercise. We're going to need to change our diet. We're going
Mm.
to need to sleep more or, do something else. We're going to have to make some other lifestyle changes. So we really need to sit and see, okay, so what is the big picture? What is the ultimate goal? Then how do we achieve that and what is it going to take? So you have to kind of work it out. Sometimes we need help with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes this is where a wellness practitioner comes in or a health coach or somebody like that so that we can break it down into manageable chunks. And then once we've got that, then we can see, okay, well, how can I go about achieving this? And what do I need to achieve first?
Hmm.
So some things will happen simultaneously, and other things we might need to focus on just one thing for a few weeks before we start adding on to the next thing.
I like the idea of connecting with somebody that knows, because you might say, well, I'm happy. I'm not obsessed with a particular body shape. And so that maybe that's not important to me. I'm not interested in running even a 5 kilometers, so I'm not going to train for that. So, at what do I actually need to change in my life? I feel my stress is okay. So it almost feels like it's best to sit with someone and say, look, maybe is that necessary? Then a blood test, maybe, or something. Let's check some of the basics and say, okay, this seems to be a bit high. This could change. Ooh, look at this number, to give us some kind of a baseline to work from, because not everybody is pushing for some other massive accomplishment in their overall health.
Yes. I think, yes, there's sometimes there's a little bit of oblivion. So we don't really know. We aren't aware of the health challenges that we could potentially be facing. I think we also have blind spots.
Mm.
So we might think, okay, well, we're okay. So we don't need to make too much of an effort. We feel okay, as you said, on a day-to-day basis. But if you do have those tests and you do see what is potentially going on in your body, then that can also be a motivator to make changes.
Mm. Yeah, and then you've said something very important, achievable bite-sized chunks. What do I need to, if it's the blood pressure that maybe needs to come down, let's see what we can do with the lifestyle change before medication. I mean, are these, can one go to one's doctor and he says, oh, those numbers are a bit high. Can you say, can you give me X number of months to change lifestyle to see if that's going to bring about some necessary change? Or what's best in those situations? Or is it more of a case by case?
It is case by case. It certainly is, but that is an option. And in certain instances, it is definitely something that you can work with.
Mm.
With blood pressure, depending on the how high the blood pressure is, you might want to treat the blood pressure until you can get those lifestyle changes in place and you start seeing the blood pressure drop and the medication is now no longer necessary.
Aha.
With something like cholesterol, you can certainly say, okay, give me a few months. Blood sugar, if it's sort of a pre-diabetes or an insulin resistance, there you definitely can say, give me a few months, because those are absolutely influenced, or many of them are influenced by our lifestyle.
Mm.
So you can make some changes and see, what is it doing to the numbers? Is it making enough of a difference for me to be able to continue in this direction, or is it something else? And there's maybe something else at play, and we need to investigate further.
Yeah, I think that then takes us to something that's necessary to talk about, and that is go for a checkup. Go and get a baseline, right?
Yes. I think that's vital. You can't know what you're working with unless if you have something to go off. So if you know what is normal for you, and you know what is within normal ranges, because obviously there's normal for you and then there's a normal range, you want to at least have an idea of where your numbers are.
What are some of where should we start? So what's the most important numbers to check, and where does one start?
Well, I think blood sugar, blood pressure, weight, and waist measurements are probably some of the most important to test. You can go further. I think nutrients, testing your nutrient levels is also very important. So, what's happening with your vitamin B and your folic acid and your iron, what's happening with your liver function, maybe kidney function. Those are also important things to know what's happening, because you don't necessarily feel those until it's too late. So those are things that I think we should be testing. Cholesterol, obviously, and then you want to do a full lipogram, not just a finger prick cholesterol. You want to know exactly what is the breakdown on those levels. And then, if you are struggling with any problems, to maybe look further at inflammatory markers, hormone levels. There's so many things. It is very individual, but your baseline, I would say, would be blood sugar, blood pressure, weight, waste management.
Yeah, and I think those ones you've mentioned, someone's listening going, oh, how much is that all going to cost? But the ones you've mentioned there in the beginning, those ones you can pop in at your local pharmacy, and they will generally do most of those for free. The blood pressure, blood sugar, etc. So there's really no excuse to not at least get those basics done.
Yes, absolutely.
And then as we wrap up the series, I think this is an important thing to mention, is we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when it comes to our health, or how we want to look or move, or getting over these things that maybe held us back for the last few years. And we hope 2026 is going to be that breakthrough year. But in between all of that, we sit with guilt, we sit with shame, we put this pressure on ourselves, we don't sleep enough or eat quite right as we're trying to make these changes, and then we want to bite each other's heads off. So, it can be a really difficult process to get all of these things right.
Yeah, it can. And I think guilt and shame will erase the progress. Whereas compassion with ourselves, grace with ourselves is going to help to build it. We can have too much grace and then we don't achieve our goals at all. But I think there's a fine balance of how do we be kind to ourselves and nurture ourselves. Because I think for me, it's about nurturing yourself. Are you making a decision to nurture yourself or to harm yourself? And that's a decision we make every day with everything that we put in our mouths, with every activity or inactivity that we choose to do. That's all deciding, are we nurturing or are we not nurturing? And so I think that being a bit more aware of what is it that we want to achieve, and how do we do that? Guilt and shame are not going to do that, because it just creates, a much more critical, anxious state around things. Whereas we can make a lot more progress when we're kinder and gentler with ourselves.
Yeah, I like that. And so this is about the long haul. This isn't doing as much as you can, as quickly as you can, hoping that you'll fix it all. You've heard it there from Dr. Wendy Christian, health coach and wellness practitioner at Integrated Health Solution. Wendy, this has been such an important journey through all of these topics over the last month. Grateful for your expertise. Thank you for this. And that's Integrated Health Solution. If you want to Google and get in touch with Dr. Wendy, maybe it's a journey you need to walk with somebody just like her. And who knows the change that could come. Wendy, we appreciate you so much, your time and your expertise. Until we connect again next week, here's to a really good Thursday and a great next 7 days. Next week, here's to a really good Thursday and a great next 7 days.